Hello. So, I'm going to talk about something that the poker world should know about. Now, if you've watched any poker content, consumed any of it, you've probably heard of something called a Club GG. And all that this is this is a play money site, allegedly, that allows people to come and play with their favorite content creators. Now, these games are notoriously soft, and they are quite good. But there's something a little bit deceptive about this. Let's take everyone's favorite. Let's take Rampage for an example. How did Rampage go from playing small stakes 1-2 games to playing the $1 million buy-in games and high stakes in general and enduring hundreds of thousands of dollars of swings at places like the Hustler, for example? And the answer to this is multifaceted. The first answer, and the sexy one, is that he sells action. He's a smart gambler. The less sexy answer is that he doesn't really make his money playing poker. While he might make some, the vast majority of his bankroll could maybe be credited to his Club GG. Now, I'm only going to look at Splash Squad in this video, but if you look at others, there are a lot of Club GGs around. A lot of them are unionized, so they're even bigger than advertised. But a lot of your famous favorite content creators are doing this. And this begs the question, how much money can stand to be made from one of these things? We all know that this is not play money. We all know that you send your money, you play on these, and you do it. Now, let's take a look. Now, I've played on these a few times, and you take a look here, and you go to your hand history, you can go to your game data, and you can find cash games, and what this tells you is it tells you the winnings and losses of everyone in this game. And I've actually done the liberty of adding up all of this, and I have come with a total of minus $105.89. So we're going to round down for all our calculations, as this will make it easier. But let's just say that we'll say on average that 500 big blinds was raked from the table. Now the rake structure in this, I'm not 100% sure, but I know that it's uncapped for all the stakes, I think below 1-2. I think once you get to 1-2 and above, they cap it at 2.5 big blinds. I could be wrong about that though. It is 5% uncapped at the lower stakes though. And in this situation, you can see there's a lot of games running, and this begs the question how much money stands to be made from such things. Now, because there's PLO, 5 PLO, and all these other stupid games, what I'm going to do is however many games are listed here in the Hold'em, I'm going to add 2 games from the PLO and others, just assuming that on average those 2 games will get ran through. Now, if we take a look at this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10-cent, 20-cent games going on right now. Now, if we assume all of these get played within the day, and we'll add 2 more for the PLO, we see that if on average $100 gets raked from one game, in a day when 8 of these games run, $800 has been raked from the 10-cent, 20-cent, assuming 500 big blinds gets raked per game in a 5% uncapped rake environment. Now let's take a look at the 25-cent, 50-cent. Now again, there's some less games. There could be some variation here. But again, we'll say that there's 5, so 5 games. So we'll add that, 5 games. And 500 big blinds at 25-cent, 50-cent is $250. So every day, that is the number. Now let's go to their most popular variant, their 50-cent, $1. Now we will add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, so 7 games at 50-cent, $1, times that by the 500 being raked, and we'll get a number. Now, as we go to the 1, 2, and above, we need to slightly rethink our payouts. Now, I'm going to drop the extra games down to only half, because I'm assuming that PLO and high stakes and all that is not played that much on this site. So we're going to take a look at the 1, 2, and we're going to have to use a different estimation model for these games. Since the rake is capped, we need to make an estimation of how much rake has been taken per hand, how many hands are played per hour, and extrapolate from there. Now, any quick Google search will tell you that at a 9-handed table, approximately 75 hands are played per hour. And at a 6-handed table, that goes down to 90. So since these tables are 7-handed, we can assume that there's probably roughly 80 to 85 hands. Let's say 85 hands are played per hour for this estimation. If we assume that on average 1 big blind is raked for every hand played, I think this is a fairly reasonable assumption, we will be able to figure out what the true is. So let's go to 1-2. Let's say 1 big blind is raked every hand for an hour. And let's say these games run for an average of 8 hours a day. So that gives us 2, that's 1 big blind, times every hand, so the amount of hands played, we'll say 80. And the amount of hours played is 8. And there's how many of these games? There's 2 of them. Now let's go to the 2-5 game. We have 5 games, or we have $5 raked on average per hand. Multiply that by the 3 games I see listed here. Multiply that by 80 hands per hour. And multiply that by 8 hours. We get our total. Now looking at the 5-10, I'm going to assume that not all 3 of these games are played. We'll just say that there's 2 of them, because I can't imagine that many people playing high stakes. But let's take a look. Let's say that there's 2 games. $10 is raked on average per hand. And that there are 80 hands played per hour. And this goes on for 8 hours a day. We get a final answer of $30,510 being raked per day from this site. This is not including tournaments. This is just cash games. We times that by 365, and we get a total of $11,136,000 and 150. That's the amount that has been raked, an estimation on this website. Now, this is probably an underestimation if I take a look at all the ways that I've rounded down. I've rounded down to 500 big blinds. I've rounded down, I've been conservative with my estimates. So we can assume that the true number is a little bit higher than this. And I'm not factoring in tournaments, which have a 10% rake for varying stakes. So, all that begs the question, where does this money go to? Well, we assume that there are probably some people on the back end helping out, but we have to make assumptions of where this goes with the content creators themselves. And you could imagine splitting up $11 million a little differently. A lot of your famous content creators have shilled this site. Rampage, Mariano, Johnny Vibes, Close to Broke, and several others. Now, we just ask, how does this get divvied up? Maybe just take a look at the stakes that they're playing. Maybe that's an indication of how much money they're making. This is just one Club GG. There are several others around with several unions making lots and lots of money. I think it's important as a community that we understand that a lot of these people, the transparency of where their income comes from, it's probably not from the tables. And of course, there are other big sites, right? GG Poker, all of that. They have egregious rake as well. Now, that's a thing. But there's nobody really telling you to play on these unregulated sites. So it's just important, I think, as a transparency thing for us to understand where the money comes from. Where did Rampage get his money? Maybe he made it at the tables, but maybe he made it at these. I'm not saying that every content creator is a losing player and is only funded by their Club GG. Of course, Mariano's winning in the Hustler games, but it always helps to have a nice boost of your bankroll to be from one of these Club GG games. Thank you.